Many people that play games have an enormous backlog that they most likely will never get through, and the reason for that is being time constraints. Well, the bigger reason for me is if I play a game, I must complete absolutely everything, including getting the Platinum Trophy. So, I've decided that if I'm going to put myself through such torture, I may as well document my journey. One of the series that's on my list is Assassin's Creed. I have already completed the Ezio trilogy, so that means the next one on my list is... Originally released in 2012 and developed by Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed 3 marked a major shift in the series, introducing a new protagonist, Connor, and setting the story during the American Revolution. While it received mixed reviews at launch due to its slower pacing and new mechanics, it gained appreciation over time for its ambitious narrative and historical setting. I actually have not played this Assassin's Creed before, so I'll be playing the remastered version that came out in 2019. This comes with some visual upgrades and quality of life improvements. Although it's remastered, apparently it's still not in 60 FPS, which is just crazy to me. But anyway, for this Platinum we're looking at 3 main steps. The first one being fully completing the campaign and all optional objectives for each sequence. We will then need to complete every single progress tracker grid entry, which is essentially obtaining 100% completion for the entire game. And then finally, we'll need to complete the Tyranny of King Washington DLC. Yes, the DLC is required for the Platinum in the remaster. PSN Profile says that this Platinum is about a 5 out of 10 difficulty and should take around 50 hours, which in my case it took a bit longer than that, but I think it's just because I'm horrible at games. Anyway, let's kick things off with our first trophy, Rude Awakening, which we get for completing the opening sequence of the game. The game opens in the present day, with Desmond Miles and his crew arriving at an ancient First Civilization temple. Using the Apple of Eden, they gain entry, but the ancient tech demands more data to activate fully. Before entering the Animus, Rebecca wants to run some tests, which essentially serves as a tutorial for the parkour system of the game. Once we complete this training session, we're presented with our first trophy. Much better. Rude Awakening. Once completed, Desmond re-enters the Animus and relives the life of Haytham Kenway, a British gentleman who assassinates a man at a London opera house to steal a mysterious key. Haytham then sets sail for the American colonies, where we are introduced to 18th century Boston. Here you may also notice we have optional objectives. For the Perfectionist Trophy, we'll need to complete every single one of these in each of the main missions. The rest of the trophies from this point for a while are all story related for completing each sequence and the present storylines. However, I did earn some others along the way. Haytham arrives in Boston and begins assembling a team, including Charles Lee, William Johnson, Thomas Hickey, Benjamin Church, and John Pitcairn. This sequence introduces us to the stealth mechanics, including social blending and free running across rooftops. Towards the end of the sequence, Haytham rescues a group of Indian slaves. However, whilst doing this, we get a trophy for blocking 5 firing lines with a human shield. Oh, what's up? Wits for yell no go by ye. Block a firing line 5 times by using human shield. Once the slaves have been freed and Silas gets absolutely domed, we earn our third trophy for completing both sequences 1 and 2. Mystery guest. Complete sequence 1 and 2. Let's go. One of the slaves we freed from earlier caught Haytham's eye. After chasing her down, we learn her name.
I'm Godzi Zio.
Pleased to meet you. God's day.
Just call me Zio.
Dio.
Zio.
Dio.
After some discussion, Zio agrees to help us find a sacred First Civilization temple. As Haytham and Zio grow closer, they infiltrate Fort Walcott and confront adversaries who stand in their way. Their bond deepens, leading to a romantic relationship. Meanwhile, Haytham continues recruiting allies under the guise of noble intentions. However, towards the end of sequence 3, it's revealed that Haytham is actually a Templar, not an assassin, which you can tell by my reaction was a bit of a holy shit moment.
You are a Templar. Wait, what?
Haytham's a Templar? At this point, we shift perspectives to play as a young Rattan Connor. His name's Connor. As a curious and determined child, he explores the world with innocence until tragedy strikes. Charles Lee, now an adult and prominent Templar, leads a brutal attack on Connor's village, killing his mother and burning their home. The trauma leaves a permanent mark, setting him on a path of vengeance. Years later, he meets an elder named Oiwa, who gives us a vision of an old retired assassin who can teach him to fight back. After speaking to this elder, we receive another trophy for completing Sequence 4. I just want to mention as well that a lot of the characters in this game have super confusing and hard to pronounce tribal names, so to the super fans of Assassin's Creed 3, if I butcher any of them, I'm really sorry. Now a teenager, Connor journeys to the frontier to find this old assassin Oil was telling us about. On our way to this location though, we receive a trophy for being invited to a club. Not entirely sure how I got this to be honest, but it popped as soon as I was approaching the homestead area. Anyway, once we arrive, we finally meet Achilles Davenport, a retired assassin living alone in a crumbling homestead. Initially dismissive, Achilles eventually agrees to train us after seeing our determination. The rest of this sequence focuses on the rebirth of the Assassin Brotherhood in the American colonies. We learn the ropes of combat, stealth, and exploration and begin recruiting settlers to rebuild the homestead. By the way, this will eventually contribute to one of the worst trophies in the entire game, but more on that later. Achilles provides us with some hidden blades, and after proving ourselves through adopting the assassin ideals and some naval combat, Achilles welcomes us to the Brotherhood. He gives us the name Connor to assist with blending into society, and so I don't have to try to pronounce his tribal name again. After this, we're granted with our trophy for completing Sequence 5. Before jumping into the next sequence, we are back in the present as Desmond for the trophy Crisscross. There's a handful of trophies we get for completing this side plot in the present day, which integrates into the story. Desmond is told the temple we found at the start runs on some kind of ancient power source, so we need to find these special power cores. We already know the first was lying in the cave, but the next one is in this office building. To get to it, we climb a skyscraper just to immediately jump off. We then run into Daniel Cross, who's the main antagonist in the present day. Once we beat him up and take the core, we pop another trophy. Oh, Crisscross. Complete present skyscraper. As we move on to Sequence 6, Connor is now a notable assassin and has become more involved in the colonial resistance with Achilles. Back at the homestead, Connor uncovers a deeper Templar plot. William Johnson, a high-ranking Templar, is attempting to buy vast tracts of land by manipulating the natives into selling it. Johnson claims his intentions are noble, but Connor sees through the deception. The land is being bought not for peace, but for control. We work with Samuel Adams by helping Boston citizens resist this British tyranny. Samuel plays a pivotal role in the Boston Tea Party, disrupting the Templars' grip on the economy and stirring revolution. We then head to a tribal gathering to confront Johnson. Despite Johnson's final plea that he was trying to avoid bloodshed, Connor refuses to allow the manipulation of his people to stand. This finally marks our first major Templar kill, and after escaping, we pop another trophy for completing Sequence 6. After assassinating William Johnson, Connor is now fully committed to the Assassin Brotherhood. With the Revolutionary War escalating, Connor begins hunting down other key members of the Templar Order who are working from the shadows. Connor learns from his allies that John Pitcairn, a British officer and known Templar, is commanding troops at the Battle of Bunker Hill. Connor joins the battle under the guise of assisting his allies, but his true goal really is to assassinate Pitcairn. Infiltrating the heavily fortified battlefield, we navigate intense gunfire, trenches, and British defences to reach our target. When we finally reach Pitcairn, Connor assassinates him, eliminating another pillar of the Templar network. After the battle, we find a letter and discover the next intentions of the Templar is to actually assassinate George Washington. After this news, we pop the Sequence 7 completion trophy. As we start Sequence 8 for the trophy Caged Wolf, Connor turns his attention to rooting out deeper Templar influence. After being alerted to suspicious behaviour from Thomas Hickey, who is secretly conspiring to assassinate George Washington, Connor begins investigating him. But things take a dangerous turn. In a setup by the Templars, Hickey and Lee frame Connor for plotting to kill Washington. Instead of stopping a plot, Connor finds himself arrested and thrown into Bridewell Prison. While inside the prison, Connor discovers that Hickey is working closely with Lee, and both have manipulated the situation to discredit and eliminate Connor, and move forward with their plan to assassinate Washington. Connor is then dragged out for a public execution, falsely accused and prepared to be hanged for a crime he didn't commit. But just before the noose tightens, Achilles and his brotherhood intervene. A fight breaks out, and Connor fights his way through the redcoats and chaos to reach Hickey. As we fight through the crowd and smoke, we assassinate him and earn another trophy. Caged Wolf. Complete Sequence 8. Easy peasy. Before moving on to Sequence 9, we're back in the present as Desmond to steal another core, but this time in a heavily guarded stadium where an MMA fight is taking place. Similar to the skyscraper, we chase down and beat up Daniel Cross for the second power source to earn another present-day storyline trophy. After meeting up with George Washington, we are now tasked with tracking down and eliminating Benjamin Church, a former patriot turned smuggler and Templar collaborator. Church has been stealing supplies meant for the Continental Army, and his actions are threatening the war effort Washington is building. However, on our way to his location, we run into a familiar face.
Father. Connor, any last words? Wait. A poor choice.
Despite the distrust with our own father, we form an uneasy alliance to take down Church, as he is a mutual enemy. Our pursuit for Church takes us from New York to the snowy frontier, where we learn Church is fleeing by sea. Connor and Hatham board Church's ship, ultimately confronting him aboard the vessel. Church, already injured from taking an absolute beating from our father, tries to justify his actions, claiming the Patriots are just as corrupt as the Templars. Connor, however, sees him as a traitor to the cause and delivers the killing blow. This ultimately leads us to another trophy for completing Sequence 9. After working together in Sequence 9, Connor and Hatham's uneasy alliance continues, but the cracks are deepening. Although they share a common goal of eliminating corrupt elements within the Templars and the Patriots, their ideological differences become harder to ignore. Our next target is Charles Lee, who is gaining more influence and manipulating events behind the scenes. However, Hatham reveals that Lee has gone into hiding after falling out with the Templar Order. This revelation causes tension between father and son. Hatham wants to restore Lee to the Templars, while Connor sees him as a threat who must be eliminated. The pair infiltrate a fort in New York in search of more information, working together in combat and stealth. Despite their cooperation, the emotional tension between them builds, especially as Hatham continues to justify Templar methods that Connor disagrees with. Eventually, Connor discovers that the Patriots plan to attack and burn his home village, believing the native tribes are supporting the British. This betrayal by the very people Connor has been fighting for hits him hard. At this point, a confrontation occurs with our childhood friend, feeling betrayed by Connor's alliance with the colonists. His refusal to back down breaks into a fight, ending with us being forced to kill him in self-defense. Now that is a whole lot for Connor to go through in such a short period of time, but it's okay. We get to take our anger out on an army of British soldiers using a fucking cannon. Now, because we're using a cannon for this mission, it was the perfect opportunity for us to earn the trophy Circus Act, where we need to kill 15 guards with a single cannon shot. Because of the sheer amount of soldiers storming us, this didn't take us very long to achieve at all. Ooh, what's that? Circus Act. Kill 15 guards with a single cannon shot. After the battle, we have a small confrontation with George Washington, as it is more evident than ever our values do not align. Grim expectations. Sequence 10 done? Before jumping into the second last sequence of the story, we're back into the present as Desmond, where we find out Abstergo have kidnapped our dad to use as blackmail to get the Apple of Eden from us. As we fight our way deeper inside the Abstergo facility, we finally come face to face with Daniel Cross. After all these previous instances of chasing him down, we end it all and stab him from behind. After this, Desmond confronts Warren Vidic, the long-time Abstergo executive responsible for the Animus program and Desmond's earlier captivity. With no more lies or manipulation, Desmond assassinates Vidic by using the apple to control one of Vidic's security. Oh my god! After this, we then use the apple to escape the Abstergo facility, which earns us another trophy. As we enter Sequence 11, Connor continues his pursuit of Charles Lee, who remains in hiding after his falling out with the Templar Order. Connor devises a plan to track down key targets, including General Pitcairn's successor and uncovering Lee's influence in New York. After some absolutely insane naval combat and igniting a signal for our surprise attack, Connor and Hatham find themselves face to face.
Where are you, Charles? Gone.
In a tense hand-to-hand duel, Hatham refuses to stand down, forcing Connor to kill his own father, ending their tragic relationship once and for all. See ya, daddy. With Hatham gone, Connor is left to finish the war against Charles Lee alone, and with that concludes Sequence 11 and earns us the second last sequence-related trophy. Difficult end. Sequence 11 done. With Hatham dead and the Templar Order in disarray, only Charles Lee remains on our hit list. This is the man responsible for the burning of Connor's village, the death of his mother, and years of Templar manipulation. Connor begins by hunting down the last remnants of Lee's network, finally uncovering Lee's location. In a dramatic pursuit, Connor chases Lee through the streets of New York, engaging in a tense firefight aboard a burning ship. But Lee manages to escape, leaving Connor injured and the mission unresolved. It's at this point, however, we can prematurely celebrate, as we earn this trophy for completing all of the optional missions I discussed at the beginning of the video. Ooh, Perfectionist. Complete 100% of all main mission constraints. That's all the side stuff I did. Thank God. Some of those are a pain in the ass. Connor takes his time to weaken Lee's resources, undermining his power and closing in slowly. Eventually, he discovers that Lee is hiding in a tavern in the frontier, far from the city. This sets up the final confrontation. In a quiet, somber moment, far removed from the spectacle of past assassinations, Connor confronts Lee. No dramatic escape, no crowd, just two men whose lives have been defined by opposing choices. After a final exchange of words, Connor stabs Lee in the heart, ending the Colonial Templar threat, once and for all. With Lee dead, Connor returns home. He buries the key to the Grand Temple, choosing not to follow the path the first civilization intended. And this concludes Sequence 12, giving us our final sequence trophy. The Sum of Truth. Complete Sequence 12. So the campaign, I'm assuming, is done. However, the story is not over yet, as we have one final Desmond sequence. Desmond uses the key to open the Grand Temple's inner chamber. With the world-ending solar flare approaching, he is given two choices by Juno and Minerva. Let the world burn and allow humanity to rebuild freely, or activate First Civilization technology, which will save the planet but release Juno, an ancient being with her own dark intentions. In my opinion, quite an underwhelming twist, Desmond sacrifices himself to activate the device, saving the world but unleashing Juno. As you could tell by my reaction, I was a bit conflicted with this ending. Oh shit. Is he fucking dead? No way that's how it ends. Really? However, after this, we earn our final story-related trophy. Well, technically. Once the story was concluded, I had to go around and speak to a couple of people across Frontier, Boston, and New York, but this didn't seem too important. However, after this, I got a trophy for completing each of the epilogue missions. Okay, now the story is finally completed, including all the optional objectives. It's time for the second stage of the Platinum, the grind. This is the stage where we need to complete every single progress tracker entry to obtain 100% of the base game. This includes every single collectible, side mission, naval mission, club challenge, and the dreaded homestead. However, for now, we are starting in Boston. Before beginning the collectible grind, I thought it'd be best to complete the underground. Boston and New York both have an underground tunnel system which serves as the fast travel points in the game. To unlock each fast travel point, you need to wander around this labyrinth, solving puzzles to unlock doors to use in the city. This was more beneficial to do now, as it's needed for the completionist trophy anyway, and it would make it so much easier to travel between the collectible locations. After completing the Boston Underground, I also bought some maps, as this would pinpoint each collectible I need. Alright, so now that we're all set up, I started collecting almanac pages, peg-leg trinkets, and chests all around Boston. I also liberated any fortresses I came across, as this would display more collectibles to collect throughout the map. The further I got through Boston, I eventually unlocked this trophy for collecting every page in a single almanac, and this trophy for completing 50% of the progress tracker entries. At this point I was like, oh sick, we're halfway through. No. The pain had not even started yet. After continuing through Boston, I eliminate the last fort and get this trophy for liberating all districts in one of the locations. And then I finally obtained my last collectible in Boston. Once this was done, I had to repeat the exact same process I just did, but for New York. Complete the underground, purchase some maps, liberate fortresses, and obtain every collectible within the city. At this point, I also decided to get invited to both the Thieves and Frontiersmen guilds so I can start to chip away at the challenges as I come across them. But more on that a bit later on. After collecting all the collectibles in both New York and Boston, we head to Frontier, and oh my god, this was a massive grind. This honestly took longer than both New York and Boston combined. Not only is Frontier about double the size of the previous two cities, the fast travel points are spread out much further apart, and the hilly terrain makes it near impossible to travel anywhere on horseback. The frontier also includes 50 feathers, which are in the most hard to reach, inconvenient areas, on top of the usual chests and trinkets I already had to collect. To save you the pain of watching me aimlessly run around collecting everything in this area, just take my word for it, it was horrible. Anyway, during my time in the frontier, I got the trophy Eyewitness, which you get for witnessing a predator killing an enemy. I didn't actually see it on my screen, but I could see it on the map happen behind me. Okay, so the collectibles in Boston, New York, and Frontier are finally done, and I thought now this would be a good opportunity to tackle the homestead. For the trophy A Complete Set, we'll need to recruit all artisans into our homestead. This is basically a stepping stone towards, in my opinion, the grindiest trophy in the whole game besides Perfectionist. An Extraordinary Man, which will require aimlessly running around the homestead until an NPC appears doing a certain task. You can tell they're doing a task when you enter Eagle Vision and they glow yellow. However, for us to start seeing these tasks, we need to complete all the homestead missions to actually unlock these NPCs in our homestead. Recruiting our first artisan earned us this trophy. As we progress through the homestead missions, Achilles shows us a secret basement. Here, we can change the outfit Connor is wearing, and you know I had to pull out the Ezio drip. After continuing to smash out the rest of these homestead missions and recruiting everyone into our homestead, we finally earned the trophy. However, as part of 100% completion, there were a few more missions we had to complete, and things actually got a bit sad. After completing all these missions, we head back to the homestead for the final sequence to find that Achilles had actually passed away due to his old age. After we bury him, I thought it was only right to switch to his outfit in his honor. After completing all those missions, I thought it'd be best to take a break from the homestead for now and complete some other stuff. Before I left, I quickly crafted an invention for this trophy, and then it's time to head back to the frontier. But don't you worry, I'll come back for you. Part of the 100% completion is doing all of the side content, which includes doing every single club mission and challenge. There are 4 clubs in the game: Hunting Society, Frontiersmen, Boston Brawlers, and the Thieves Club. After deciding to tackle the Hunting Society first, I started running around hunting unique animals and completing all of the Hunting Society challenges. After this, I got this trophy for completing all challenges for any one of the clubs. I then remained in the Frontier to complete the Frontier missions, where I had to find multiple myths and rumors such as the Headless Horseman, Loch Ness Monster, and UFOs. Honestly, this was pretty bizarre, but it was pretty cool at the same time. Once I completed those missions and challenges, it was time to head back to the city for the Boston Brawlers. For the missions, I need to go around and smack some sense into a bunch of random citizens to make my way to a tournament. Once I won the tournament, I went and ticked off some of the other challenges. One of these required me to hang enemies 5 times using rope darts, which actually gave me a trophy in the process. Another one of these challenges needed me to disarm and kill 10 Jaegers, which are basically the super elite enemies and only spawn at notoriety 3. I decided this would be a good time to go for the trophy Jaeger Bomb, which required me to kill 10 Jaegers before losing notoriety. After completing the rest of the challenges, I headed back to New York to start ticking away at the Thieves Club. It was at this point I realized I should have probably started working towards leveling up all of my assassin recruits quite a while ago, as these are time-based missions you send them off to. There are 6 assassin recruits and each of them are required to be max level to earn 100%, so I started doing this from this point onwards. Okay, so now that the side missions are done for the most part, it was time to move on to the remaining of the discovery section. First, we completed all the Captain Kidd's Treasure Naval missions and their optional objectives, which gave me 2 trophies, Bring Down the House and Kid Gloves. I then ran around and completed every single assassination contract, career mission, and delivery request. And now it was time to move on to some naval missions. During the completion of these, I upgraded my ship, which earned me the trophy Tumble Home. I probably should have done this right from the beginning as it would have made it much easier, but afterwards I headed out to complete the last couple of missions and got them all done. But we weren't done with naval combat just yet, as we still had to complete all 12 privateer contracts. These were much easier than the missions, as only a handful of them had side objectives, but most of them would just kill X number of ships. Now that we got naval out of the way, I just ran around completing any remaining miscellaneous trophies as I waited for my assassin trainees to level up. Speed running through them real quick, this consisted of winning in at least one of each minigame in the homestead, trading in undamaged pelts at every store, performing a double assassination with a musket, sending a convoy to each of the 3 major locations, and looting a convoy without killing any of the guards. And now it was finally time to complete an extraordinary man. This video is not going to make it seem like it took that long, but trust me, the amount of time I ran around aimlessly until someone was doing a task I needed was so unnecessary. In the process of doing this, I earned another trophy for my first trainee reaching assassin rank, which means we were getting very close. Anyway, after running around for, I'm not kidding, almost an entire hour, just waiting to see this woman churn some butter. My god, what has trophy hunting done to me? We finally got the trophy. Oh. Hell, that was so painful. The tough gig was over. All we had to do now was wait around for my last recruits to finally reach the assassin rank. And after, we finally achieved 100% of the base game and thus earning the final trophy. Woo! Completionist. And we did it. We finally earned the Wait, what is that? Who's... Oh my fuck. Oh, you thought it was over, huh? Nope. The remaster of the game, unlike the PS3 original, actually requires you to complete the Tyranny of King Washington DLC to obtain the platinum. It's okay though, this was only 3 very short chapters, so we're basically in the home stretch now. The first chapter, Infamy, begins with Ratan Hakaton asleep near a riverbank in the frontier. I thought I was done having to pronounce his name, however this seems to be in some alternate reality where he isn't actually given the name Connor. Anyway, we are awoken by our mother, who warns us of danger in the forest. After following her, we question how she is alive and what is happening. Soon, we encounter a Blue Coat patrol attacking villagers. After successfully fending off the soldiers, a woman warns our mother that King George Washington is hunting her. Shortly after, we are gifted with the Hidden Blades, earning us this trophy. Back at the village, another Blue Coat attack unfolds. King Washington, with Benedict Arnold and Israel Putnam, confront us. Using a scepter imbued with an Apple of Eden, Washington kills our mother. Canon event. We fight Washington, but are defeated by the Apple's power. Stabbed, shot, and left unconscious. Five months later, we awaken in a cave. The clan mother tells us what happened, impressed by our calm acceptance. We are tasked to climb the Red Willow and drink its tea, which allows us to enter the Sky World and gain spirit powers, including invisibility and calling wolves to aid us. For the trophy, a wolf in sheep's clothing, we need to kill 25 enemies while cloaked. Taking advantage of our new powers, we do this almost immediately after unlocking it. After rescuing a tribesman from Blue Coat execution, we return to find our village destroyed and the elder dying. With her last words, she commands us to kill Washington, Putnam, and Arnold to finish what our mother started. We hunt down Putnam and Arnold, assassinating Arnold inside a fort. Before dying, Arnold tells us to free Benjamin Franklin in Boston. After his death, we earn another trophy. Straight after, Putnam captures us, revealing plans to seize Boston from Franklin and takes us prisoner in a slave cart headed for the city. This concludes the Infamy chapter. However, for the trophy Frontiersman, we need to achieve 100% synchronization within the chapter. So before moving on, we complete any remaining citizen missions, such as convoys, feeding the hungry, and rescuing citizens from wolves. We also collect all artifacts, which earns us the trophy. Moving on to the second chapter, Betrayal, we awaken in a prison and are presented to King Washington, who is shocked that we are still alive. Washington orders our execution, along with rebel prisoners including Canon Tokon. Using our powers, we escape and rescue him. We find red willow tea, which we drink, gaining the eagle flight ability after a spirit journey with the eagle. This ability is actually so sick that I kept using it and accidentally unlocked this trophy for traveling a kilometer total with it. After fighting off Bluecoats and confronting Franklin, Washington appears and attacks us with the Apple of Eden, triggering visions of our mother. We survive and meet Samuel Adams, who is leading Boston's rebels. We uncover Franklin's plans and capture him, breaking the Apple's influence. Adams wants Franklin dead, but we spare him for his intel. We learn Washington is in New York and, with the help from Robert Faulkner, escape Boston by sea. During the escape, we kill Putnam, who was holding Canon Tokon hostage. Doing so presented us with this trophy. After this, our group sails towards New York, glimpsing Washington's massive pyramid. However, before moving on to New York, similar to Frontier, I collected any remaining artifacts and completed some citizen missions to attain 100% synchronization and earn the final trophy for Betrayal. Alright, we have finally made it to the third and final DLC chapter, Redemption. As our ship approached New York, Washington's fleet attacked. We destroyed enemy ships and rammed into the bay, allowing the crew to escape. On shore, Canon Tokon was killed trying to protect Franklin from Washington. Mourning our friend, we drank the red willow tea again, gaining the bear power, and rejoined Franklin to support Jefferson's rebels. As we were slaughtering his army, I was just spamming Bear Slam, which eventually got me this trophy for killing 125 enemies using Bear Might. We helped gain civilian support by assassinating an official and distributing food. As the rebellion grew, we detonated Fort George's lighthouse to begin the final assault. Using our powers, we infiltrated Washington's palace. After fighting through his army, we eventually faced Washington atop the pyramid and offered mercy. He refused, leading to a final battle.
I am the only king here!
I will end you for all you've done!
After we have defeated and killed him, we earn our final story-related trophy of not just the DLC, but the entire game. And after running around and collecting all the artifacts and helping some more citizens, we finally earned the platinum. Alright, if I can make it there. Woo! Finally, man. Platinum done. Let's go. Yeah, as you can tell, I was so done by the end. If you stuck it out to the end, thank you so much for watching. This is my first YouTube video, so any feedback is greatly appreciated. Please be nice. I did stream the first little bit of this platinum, but I intend to stream a lot more both here on YouTube and over on Twitch, so be sure to subscribe and follow whichever platform you prefer. Again, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to comment any suggestions on what you recommend I should platinum next, and hopefully my next platinum isn't so much of a grind.